What's good, y'all? It is your girl, Anya Gray, aka the Uni Goddess, aka the Fluffy Barbie. Welcome back to my channel. I am coming in with another video. So before I get into this video, make sure you hit the like button, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you are notified when I upload. And yeah, let's get into it. So it is the day before my FounderZ Day. I am in the sorority Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm just doing a little get ready with me. I'm doing a Zeta inspired makeup look today, as well as doing another part of this video talking about my experience with grief. Now, the reason why you probably wonder what does your sorority have to do with grief, right? The reason why my FounderZ Day is significant to my experience with grief is because 2 years ago, tomorrow, is the anniversary of my eldest brother's transition into the spirit realm. He was 26 years old, and literally he's 16 months apart from me and my twin brother, so we technically are triplets, damn it. So these past 2 years have definitely been very eye-opening, and forever the January 16th is going to be a very bittersweet day. It's going to be a day where I'm grateful for the founding of the African American sorority that I am a part of. I'm grateful to be a finer woman, to be able to share a sisterhood and a organization that is community conscious and action oriented, okay, and is a pillar in the community. That's the reason why I decided to become a woman of Zeta, and to be able to share the letters of women like Minnie Riperton and Dionne Warwick and so many countless other phenomenal, finer women. So yeah, let's get into it. So I was thinking about using this Centennial palette that I actually bought during Centennial. Our Centennial was in 2020, but it was kind of short-lived and we had to live it up in quarantine, which sucked. But either way, Centennial, if you don't know what Centennial means your organization turned 100 years. So we became 100 years old in 2020. So tomorrow we will be 102. Okay, 102. And what a blessing it is that our sorority is still standing and still thriving and still striving for the betterment of our people and building up women of all walks of life, in all shades, in all, backgrounds. So I kind of did like a swatch of this palette on my hand. Yeah, the colors are pretty cute, pretty vibrant. This is what it looks like. 2 years ago today, my brother, it happened literally around my birthday. It was December 13th. I'll never forget this day. Was when my brother, because my brother had been sick. He had not been feeling well, not going to work. And we were all under the impression that it was just, a regular cold, upper respiratory infection is what he was told, because he actually went to the doctor, to get checked out and to see what was going on because he didn't feel well. So they pretty much told him to go get some cough medicine from the drugstore and basically just send him home. So as days went on, it was just like he just kept feeling, worse and worse. So you know how men are, and they like to downplay how they truly feel. But I can tell my brother was not his vibrant, energetic self. And this was, mind you, before I picked up tarot, before I realized how intuitive I was. So it was interesting that a few weeks before my brother got sick, I was going to the drugstore to pick up some hair dye because I wanted to dye my hair for my birthday. And as I'm walking back to the car, I literally step off the curb and I fall and I sprain my ankle like real bad. To the point my father had to come out of the car and help me get to the car because I couldn't barely move. I could barely walk. It was crazy. So it was like, you know how our bodies are oracles and they be trying to tell us something. Little did I know that that was an omen, you know, like a precursor to the great pain that I'm going to be carrying for the rest of my life, you know. And it's, at the end of the day, it's hard to accept that your loved one is not coming back. It's hard to deal with grief. It's hard to come to terms with the fact that your loved one, at least in, you will never see them again in this lifetime, you know. But you can find comfort in knowing, and this is what made it easier for me, is knowing that my loved one is no longer in pain. They're no longer suffering. And I think that's the best way to look at it. And also look at what you know, were supposed to learn from that person's life. You know, what was, and it's hard trying to understand the why when you're going through it. Trust me, I know. But as time goes on, you know, and you reflect on the times you've had with that person and what that person meant to you, it makes it easier knowing that that person no longer has to suffer. So, yeah. He went into the hospital December 13th, literally 2 days before me and my brother's birthday. So, and I don't really, this is my first time really openly talking about it because even when my brother was in the hospital, like, I didn't really, I wasn't very vocal about it because for me, I've always had a hard time being open and transparent, like, unless I know and trust and love you. And that's one thing that I learned from this, from that time in my life, is that never feel afraid to be vulnerable. Never be afraid to feel. Never be afraid to be real with yourself, because at the end of the day, the more you try to ignore how you feel, it will eventually, literally, it will eventually come and bite you in the ass. Like, literally, like, I had to learn the hard way. Like, if you don't go somewhere and sit down and heal and feel and deal, your body gonna sit you down. God's gonna sit you down. Something is going to force you to sit down and deal with what you're feeling, you know, unless you just continue to escape, and then it's just gonna be a unending cycle of trying to escape your pain. And I'm in a space of healing. I'm in a space where I'm ready to heal the things that ail me mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I was at the time working in the school system. I was a part-time music teacher, and my title was a long-term substitute. So I would just teach 2 classes in the morning, and then around lunchtime I will be off. So, and I'll never forget, it was like, it was so many omens that I wasn't even aware of until I look back and think about it. Because at the time, literally the day before this happened, and we found my brother in his room, unable to get out of his own bed. Basically, I was in this choir, this community choir, in St. Mary's County at the time. And it was me, my brother, and this other girl who was in the group as well. We would carpool together and go down to St. Mary's to rehearse. And for some reason, I asked, "Do you guys believe in Friday the 13th?" Hold on, y'all. My bad, y'all. That was my line sister. That was my back. She's actually surprising my other two of my line sisters because we're going to brunch today. The reason we're going to brunch today because I know it's AKA's FounderZ Day. First of all, shout out to my best friend and her mama, my favorite AKAs. But we're going today because it's supposed to snow tomorrow. And for those of y'all who saw the shit that happened on I-95, even if they're claiming it's just 1 to 3 inches, I ain't playing with Mother Nature, okay? So anyway, so I had asked, do y'all believe in Friday the 13th? You know, saying Friday the 13th, how it's always something negative or bad happening. So it was just ironic that the next day was Friday the 13th, and I asked them, did they believe in it? And of course, they're like, I mean, I don't even remember what they said, but little did I know what was to come the next day. So my mom had picked me up from work. Hold on, y'all. Sorry, my twin needed my lighter. But yeah, before I continue the story, I went in with the Zeta blue shade for the first color. And what I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the blue from this palette and use my glitter stack from Beats by Deb and use this blue right in the middle. Either that or I'm going to use this silver right below it. We'll see how I feel. It depends on what I wear because I don't even know what the hell I'm wearing. But yeah, so my mom, because I'm not currently driving, I'm getting my license soon, so don't judge. But my mom picked me up from work. We went to the store, picked up food. We picked up some Stouffer's mac and cheese, some catfish, and some spinach from the Giant. And we were gonna, and got us some wine from the liquor store. And we were gonna cook us a good ass meal and just, you know, have a great time. So we get home. I'll never forget. I went to go use the restroom, and next thing I hear is commotion in my brother's room of my parents calling his name. So I go upstairs and I literally see my brother lying in bed, and he looks like he's asleep, right? But it's literally like my parents are shaking him, calling his name, and literally all he does is roll over and goes back to sleep. It's like he didn't have the strength to get up. It was like his body was so stricken with sickness, like he wasn't in control of it anymore. Like, and it's like you could tell it was like he was trying so hard because you could hear him moaning and stuff, but it was like he was trapped in his own body. It was like one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. And he was in the bed naked on top of that. So why everybody want to call me when I'm trying to do this video? What the fuck? Fuck. Okay, so I think next I'm going to go in with this Zola color just to give it more of a transitional effect. But yeah, my father had to dress him, and literally like he had to like pick him up and like dress him himself because he couldn't get up and dress himself. He literally was not in control of his own body. So we ended up having to call 911 and everything, and he had to get lifted, put on a gurney and lifted down the stairs and out the door. And the last time I saw my brother with his eyes open was that day when they were putting him in the ambulance, and he looked so scared. And that's one thing I will never forget from that moment. And my brother, he is a fighter. When I tell you he fought for a month fought for his life, and unfortunately, he was going through so much with, you know, having seizures, and then he developed pneumonia when he was in the hospital. They diagnosed him with encephalitis because whatever, which I personally believe that it was the coronavirus, because literally a couple months after he passed, we were on lockdown. So I really feel like he was one of the first people who got corona. We don't have proof for that medically, but hopefully we can find proof for that. But basically, for a month, my parents literally went back and forth from Waldorf, Maryland to Holy Cross. That was a very rough time on me and my family. We were so sure. We prayed. We claimed it. We claimed his healing, and sometimes we have to come to terms with the fact that the healing that we pray for isn't going to come on earth, but it comes in heaven. It comes in the afterlife. It comes in transitioning from this plane to a different plane. So that was probably the toughest death I've had to take. I've had some tough deaths in my life, like losing both my grandmothers, and losing a classmate in high school who was very close to me. But when you're younger, and one thing I've learned about myself is I'm a suppressor. I don't really deal with things. I will use other things to escape. Number one being food. Number two being, mind altering substances like alcohol and marijuana. So it was when my brother passed that I never really stopped to grieve. Like the way that my job was set up, I didn't have any leave. So if I were to take off, I would have had taken off work. So I decided to go to work, not just because I didn't want to lose money, but because I just needed to stay busy. Some people need to stay busy. Some people can't function, when they're grieving. For me, I'm the type that I have to stay busy to not think about it. So eventually, grief caught up with me, and my body started to react to the trauma and to the stress. And I started to become lightheaded. I grew insomnia. Like, shit was not good. And I really thought I was dying. I thought there was something wrong with me, but I went to the doctor and realized that it was a grief reaction. It was a reaction to me suppressing my own grief. So the reason why I'm telling my story and how I dealt with grief is to hopefully give somebody else, some type of aid on how, grief can affect you, to let anybody out there who's grieving know that you're not alone. Go through the list of the 5 things I learned from grief, and hopefully it will help anybody else who is dealing with grief as well to figure out how to, overcome it, or at least be able to deal with it. So, number 1, because I wrote these down, y'all. I came prepared today, baby. Number 1 is it comes in waves. So like I said, grief is a lifetime thing. It's not something that you just, get over. It's not something that you just, it's not something that you just move on from, you know, and you never think about it, you never, deal with it again. Grief is a real process, and a process that can take years to come to terms with. The best advice I can give to anybody dealing with, grief is to be patient with yourself, to give yourself grace. And also, when you start to feel, overwhelmed and emotional, allow it to happen. Allow that grief to take over and feel and deal with it, and don't run from it, because the more that you run from it, the worse things can get. So definitely don't be afraid to feel it, so you can actually deal with it, and there are different ways you can deal with it. You can cry it out, you can write it out, you can laugh it out, like whenever you start to think negative or start to feel overwhelmed, start to think about the positive times, the times that you laugh with that person, the times that you had with that person. And it really makes you look at life differently. You can't help but, look at life differently after you lose somebody, especially somebody who showed you why it's important to live your life and not get caught up in the things that you can't control. So number two, everybody grieves differently. So like I said, I'm the type of person where I am a grief suppressor. It's not a good thing. It's not something to boast or brag about, but it is a fact. I'm the type where I'd rather not show my grief or really talk about it. I'm more of a person who deals with her shit internally. And that's not always a good thing, because like I said, case in point, when I had a whole panic attack, and it's funny because both me and my brother had a panic attack, but in different ways. Like his was more as of an external panic attack where he was very emotional, and he felt like he was going to die, but it was in a different way. It was more so him having an outward meltdown. My meltdown was more so internal, and I more so decided to suffer in silence. So, and then there are people who, cry all the time, like, at the thought of that person. So it really just depends on yourself and how you deal with things, and having the knowledge, because people deal with grief differently, not taking things personal, not taking certain people's possible absence in your life personal, not taking their frustration or attitude personal. It's about really giving yourself or that person grace, because everybody deals with it differently, and you can't control how long it takes. You can't control, when you're going to feel happy, when you're going to have a happy, grief moment, or when it's going to be more of an emotional and a more sad one. All you can do is, if you know somebody who is going through grief, if they need the support, be the support system for them. If they want to be alone, respect their wishes and love them from afar and keep them in your positive thoughts and prayers. Number 3 is don't suppress your grief. Like I said, when those grief moments start to, you know, creep up on you and you don't know what to do, the best thing you can do is just sit in your emotions and sit with what has caused you to feel triggered and to allow that emotion to take over you, because it's going to actually be more beneficial out than in, honestly. And it's going to help you, you know, it's going to help soothe you. Like crying is soothing. And even if you're not a crier, you know, grief can come in forms of anger. You know, grief can come in forms of escapism. Like one of the things I did to escape my grief, I started going out a lot. I was, you know, doing a lot of partying. And I would frequent the male exotic dance shows, you know, a lot, you know, as a form of escapism. And unfortunately, I got caught up in oh, do I want to call him a man? I got caught up in a person who took advantage of my grief. But one thing I say, my brother, literally from the spirit realm, said, hell fucking no, we don't fuck with this person. So at the end of the day, it worked out, you know. But it's important not to suppress your grief, because you'll end up in my cases, sometimes getting taken advantage of because you're grieving. So these are things to keep in mind as well. So next, number 4 is don't take things a day at a time. Like I said, grief comes in waves, and you can't control when those type of episodes come on. You just can't control those type of things. And at the end of the day, it's showing that you still love that person, and that person still, you know, has a really big impact on you and on your life. And at the end of the day, you're never going to fully be over it. All you can do is live with it and be grateful for the moments and the memories you had with your loved one. So the next one is, and the last one, don't feel guilty for living. Don't feel guilty for surviving your loved one. Don't feel guilty for enjoying life. Don't feel guilty for going on with your life. Just because you are moving forward doesn't mean you're forgetting about that person. It doesn't mean that you're selfish or inconsiderate if you continue to move on with your life. You know, at the end of the day, your loved one wouldn't want you sitting around being miserable over their absence. And I had to come to terms with that myself when it came to my brother. So, like, that survivor's guilt is a whole nother can of worms, you know. But at the end of the day, it's about living for that person. It's about accomplishing your purpose, because your purpose is not yet done, it's not over with on this plane, and living out your purpose with that person in mind, you know. Really cherishing the temporary amount of time that we have on this, in this physical realm, you know. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So once we understand that concept and understand that mortality is a real thing that we all are going to have to, you know, face in our life, then like once we really start to embrace that, it becomes easier for us to, it becomes more important for us to be very intentional with this life and to not take it for granted. One of the things my brother, left us was memories through videos and, different types of photographs and memories. And one of the things he said, I'll probably play that clip at the end of this video, was when we were at our family reunion at the National Harbor, and he was taking a video of the family, and he talked, and he said, cherish the moments while he was talking.
Videos.
It's a video.
I gotta get everybody.
But it's okay. We look good.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get everybody in here. We gotta cherish the moments.
What a nugget. What a revelation. What, a blessing that he left that mantra, cherish the moments, for us. So whenever we start to feel ungrateful, when we start to worry about things that are out of our control and, get caught up in things that don't matter, I always speak that mantra every day. Cherish the moments, # Christian Grey forever, because my brother lives forever through me, through all his loved ones. And he reminded us that while we're here, we need to cherish the moments. Okay, so yeah, I didn't want this to be too long of a video. I just wanted to touch on something that meant a lot to me, especially with this being the 2nd anniversary and me going in a different direction with my life, finally deciding to live and not to exist, not feeling guilty for still being here, and realizing that I'm still here because my purpose is not done. You're still here because your purpose is not done. And realize every time you wake up, it is a gift to cherish. Every time you spend time with somebody you love, that is a gift to cherish. And to never forget that. So every day that I am gifted by the Most High, 2022 and on, I'm making it count. Filling out my purpose and living my best life, living a abundant life, utilizing the talents and the gifts that God gave me to glorify not only Goddess, but to help inspire other people to do the same. So, and my brother shows me that he's with me and that he is guiding me and that he supports me all the time. All right, my love. So I'm just finishing up my face now. I'm doing my highlight. And then I'm going to go in with the contour and do all the finishing touches. I think I'm actually going to speed up this process and just come back and sign off this video. So I'm just going to be showing you guys some snippets from our FounderZ Day pre-turn up get together, since I never had time to sign off this video. So if you are still here, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Nobody came into the frame yet.
Oh, I didn't know I was invited. I didn't know if it was a solo tape.
She just made it so much better. It's about to be a video. Oh, wow. I thought it was going to count down, but it's, we need Jeb.
Where's Jeb?
We left her in the garage. No, we didn't.
No, she said she would meet us wherever we're going. That's what she said. So let's find somewhere to go get a drink.
Let's do that.
Let's go find a
You
drink.
have to tell me to.
Period. Because it's pre-FounderZ Day turn up. It's snowing on our real FounderZ Day, and we wanted to be outside. So
They scared to come outside.
This is a green tea shot, y'all. This some huge ass shots. With my line sisters, y'all. Period.
Just because I look like this every single day, you think that you know me. Me, if I want, I can also look like this.